Hey guys, in this video we're going to be looking at the top 7 mistakes that players rated 1800 are making. As usual, I analyzed 100 games to see what was causing these players to lose, and I'm going to show you those results right now. Here are the results. First thing that I want to point out is that these numbers don't add up to 100%, and that's because if one game had multiple mistakes or multiple different types of mistakes, I included each of those in the percentages. So some games count for 2 or even 3 categories, and so that's why if you add these numbers up, you're going to get a number higher than 100%. Another thing I want to say about the 1800 level is it really felt for the first time in doing this series like I was looking at much better players. Like there was something really significant going from the 1600 level to the 1800 level. So if you do find yourself trying to get past 1800 and you're having a hard time, I would say part of that has to do with the fact that you're playing against really good players, and it's going to continue to get harder and harder as you get higher and higher. And a lot of it is going to come down to just putting in more work and more effort than your opponents do. All right, so now let's take a look at these percentages. Tactical errors coming in at the top, 36%. This is exactly what you would think it is. You're playing a game and you're calculating some tactical sequence, and you just make a mistake that ends up costing you. So let me show you a quick example. All right, so here's an example from one of the games I looked at. Both players are right around 1800. White played queen f2, black played queen e4, and at this point in the game, it's relatively equal. If anything, black has a slight advantage. And then white played rook f1, and black decided to go for this little trick, queen takes e3. So he's giving up his queen with the idea that after white captures, he's got a discovered check on the queen over here on h2. And so I'm sure what he was thinking was white's going to capture, he's going to play bishop h2 check, white's going to take it, he's going to take the queen, and it's kind of just like a big trade, right? The queens and the bishops are getting traded off. But what he failed to realize is that after bishop h2 check, and this is what his opponent actually played, king f2 is an option, protecting the queen that way. And so now after he trades, he just lost an exchange. So instead of it being an even trade, he went down the exchange. So those kind of tactical errors were the most common thing that I saw at the 1800 level. And there's not really an easy fix for this. I mean, this is what chess is about, getting better at tactics, really. So the only thing that I could say is just do a ton of tactics puzzles and just continue to work on them and get better and better and faster, and eventually you'll start to make less and less mistakes. All right, next we had blunders, 26%. There are always going to be some blunders. It did go down from the previous video, which I would expect. I'll show you one quick example. Here's a game where white decided to sack his bishop on f7. It's not really a great sack, and at this point right here, black is completely winning. He's just up a piece, and just a normal move like bishop e7 is completely winning, but he captured on e5, completely didn't see that there's a knight fork and he's losing his queen. Can't make those kind of mistakes too often. If you want to get past 1800, you really have to limit your blunders to be as few as possible. All right, so third, we have 25% of the games being decided in the endgame. So 1 in 4 games, the player either won or lost in an endgame. And I went ahead and broke it down a little bit further. You can see 18% of the games involved rooks, 12% of the games involved minor pieces, and some of them, like this example that I'm going to show you right now, had both rooks and minor pieces. So if you haven't really studied endgames up to this point and you're stuck at 1800, that's probably what you need to focus on. 25% is a pretty big percentage of games. And to add on to that, if you're not sure what kind of endgames to focus on, rook endings. Just learn rook endings. If you get really good at rook endings, I guarantee you're going to see that type of ending more often than any other kind. And it makes sense, right? You start the game with the center pawns, you develop your pieces, usually the pieces get traded off, and what are you left with? The rooks and some pawns, usually. And occasionally, like here, a set of pieces maybe. All right, so for this example I want to show you, I've actually shrunk the board a little bit, so if it looks a little weird, I'm doing that intentionally. I want you to see this number over here, up at the top right corner. This is the Stockfish evaluation of the position. So this is a chess engine that runs in the background. It tells you if it's better for white or if it's black, what's going on in the position, and you can kind of use it to check for blunders and just to see who's better or worse in the position. So right now, plus 0.1. It's saying that white is better. So if it's a positive number, it means white's better. If it's a negative number, it means black's better. And 0.1 is a tenth of a pawn. So it's pretty much equal. That's a very slight advantage for white. But I want you to watch as the game goes on. So let's go a few moves forward. Now it's slightly better for black. Still slightly better for black. 0.8 better for black. So black has a 2.2 advantage now. G6 back to 0.8, 0.7. So it's still relatively equal at this position. And this is the key moment. Okay, so we go from minus 0.8, so black has a very small advantage, to minus 5.7. Now he's up a rook, essentially. If rooks are 5 points, so minus 5.7 is black is now ahead at least a rook. So this is what I wanted to point out in this position. G3 looks like a relatively common sense kind of a move, right? You're protecting your pawn chain, the knight's attacking it, you're just going to push the pawn up to defend on f4. It's a move that a lot of people would play. But notice, let's go back again, look at that change in evaluation. And why did that happen? Well, the reason is because this pawn over here, all of a sudden, by just playing one wrong move, now this pawn gets out of control. And white has no good way to stop it. If we go back, instead of G3, the move that the engine is recommending is knight to B5. The idea is that now if black pushes the pawn, you can play knight to A3, blockade it. You have pressure on it with your rook, so he can't just easily move his rook away. White has a good chance to draw this game. But by playing, one wrong move here, G3, it's pretty much all over. Right, so that's the important takeaway from this. When you're playing endgames, one small, subtle move can cost you the whole game. And so it's very, very important that you understand when you're looking at an endgame, what are the priorities. In this case, in this position, this is the priority. If white can easily stop this pawn and create a blockade, he's going to have good chances to draw the game. If not, black's going to win. And so really knight to b5, knight to a3 is what white needed to do. G3 just was a pretty big mistake because of that reason. And so if we go a few moves forward, you can see that white, attempted to just try to stop it a different way, but he just ran out of time, ended up losing his knight, and black went on to win. All right, so next on the list, we have 11% of the games players just lost on time. I'm not going to really talk too much about this. This is just part of chess. I think everybody has had a game like this, and you will continue to have games like this in your chess career. Can't really do too much about that. Maybe we'll do a video on time management at another point. But for right now, just know about 1 in 10 games that happened. All right, and last on this, we have a poor opening choice. So 9 out of the 100 games, players just got into a bad position right out of the opening and couldn't come back. I've had games like this where it almost feels like you never really had a chance to win the game because the opening just went so bad. So I'll show you a quick example. White played the Scotch game, and black captured on d4. Now, the better move would be to play queen f6. If he's going to play queen f6 like he does, queen f6 right now is the move, and after captures, you can play bishop c5, threatening checkmate, and then you'll take this knight back later. But instead, he captured it, then played queen f6, which is not great. He loses a tempo to e5. Then he played queen e6, loses another tempo to bishop c4. And so all of a sudden, white has castled, has two pieces in really good squares, and black, hasn't done anything. And you can just see a couple moves later, now he's in big trouble, right? He's got his kings under fire, and he didn't get a chance to castle. And this pin on this bishop, he never had a chance to come back from this. Like, I'll just show you a few more moves. You can see, again, this pin is just killing him. And, I mean, he's just got destroyed. So if you are struggling with openings and getting into decent positions in the middle game, 1800 is probably a good time to take it a little bit more seriously and put some time into learning an opening and learning it really well. All right, well, hey, it does take a lot of time to go through 100 games, so if you did learn something, please hit that thumbs up button. It helps out a lot. This is probably going to be the end of this series, at least for now. I think most of my subscribers are under the 1800 level, so I don't think they're going to get too much value from me going and doing it at 2000 level one like I had originally planned. If you're interested and you want to see that, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see about maybe doing it in the future. But I do have a couple other videos that I want to get started on, so I'm excited to bring those. I think you're going to get a lot of value from those. That being said, I am definitely open to suggestions. So if you have an idea of a particular video or a series of videos that you want to see me create, let me know in the comments. I'll read those and definitely take those into consideration. But hey, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you stay sharp, play smart, and take care.